All right, let's dive in. This time, we're looking at this fascinating concept called Offloading Technical Linguistic Debt.
OTLD for short.
Yeah, OTLD, exactly. We found it in, well, an audio diary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like someone just like pouring their thoughts and feelings out, you know?
Raw and unfiltered. Really captivating stuff.
Totally. And the speaker goes through these like intense emotional swings. You hear them go from joy to like total despair in a matter of minutes.
It's wild. You feel like you're right there with them, experiencing all the ups and downs.
And through all of it, they keep asking, is this useful? It's like they're desperately searching for meaning.
Grappling with whether these internal struggles, actually matter.
Exactly. And they have this term for it, right? That technical linguistic debt, the OTLD.
Yeah. Like they see it as this burden, all these unexpressed thoughts and unprocessed emotions just weighing them down.
Preventing them from moving forward. And they literally say, this is an exercise, primarily just to offload excess technical debt. Like these recordings are their way of dealing with it.
So interesting, right? It's almost the opposite of thinking without speaking. They're actively confronting their inner world.
Untangling all those mental knots.
Yeah.
And get this, they also use this phrase, linguistic point plane vectors. No idea what it means, but it sounds super complex.
Or LpPVs, let's call them that for now. Maybe it's their way of mapping their thoughts and feelings, like visually.
Ooh, trying to see the structure and direction of their thinking? That's pretty wild.
Makes you wonder what they're hoping to find.
I think a lot of people can relate to this, though. We've all felt overwhelmed by our thoughts sometimes.
Absolutely, that feeling of drowning in unprocessed emotions. But what's different here is this person's choice to confront it head on.
Like they're actively shaping their own mind instead of letting it control them.
And using OTLD as their tool to clear out the mental clutter and hopefully make room for growth.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Do we all have some form of technical linguistic debt that we're carrying around?
It's definitely something to think about. Maybe we could all benefit from a little offloading.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
And speaking of food, the speaker talks about how things like diet affect their mental state, too.
It's true. They're super self-aware, analyzing how everything impacts their inner world.
Like trying to understand not just what they feel, but why.
And that takes them down some interesting paths. They mention Carl Jung and the objective personality system.
Wow, so they're using these frameworks to try and understand their identity.
Seems like it. But they also resist being boxed in by any one label.
Yeah, they talk about feeling like a starving artist and a poet, but then question if those labels are even real.
That tension between self-perception and, the world's categories.
We all deal with that, right? Trying to figure out where we fit in.
Definitely. And the speaker is really challenging their own assumptions, constantly searching.
Such a powerful journey of self-discovery, inspiring and thought-provoking at the same time.
And incredibly vulnerable, sharing these very personal struggles so openly.
Makes you wonder, how do you explore your own internal world? What tools do you use to make sense of it all?
A question worth pondering for all of us. And we'll keep diving deeper into this diary to see where it leads. This person is constantly debating with themselves, weighing these different parts of their personality.
And how that all ties into OTLD. Right. All that unexpressed stuff just keeps them stuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're saying, even the thoughts we don't say affect us.
And then they talk about conditioning their thoughts, almost like training their own mind.
Oh, yeah. They connect it to things like what you eat, exercise, and all that. They're really trying to hack their own system.
A real self-improvement guru, but for the mind.
But it's not all about just feeling good either. They question whether their happiness is even, genuine.
Whoa, that's deep. Trying to figure out if it's really you feeling it or something external.
And that struggle pops up again when they mention the objective personality system. They got typed, but felt it wasn't the whole picture.
So, they relate to labels like starving artist, but then
wonder if it's too simple, right? Not really capturing who they are.
And that's so relatable. None of us fit neatly into these boxes.
Totally. It's about those individual journeys,
Makes you think, how much is our identity from inside us versus what others expect?
Huge question. And our speaker is wrestling with it while dealing with this OTLD.
It's a lot to unpack. They're trying to clear out the mental clutter for some clarity.
Good analogy, like tidying your desk so you can think straight.
Maybe that's what OTLD is all about, making space for new insights.
Fascinating to see that connection. What do you think they're looking for, ultimately?
I'd guess, meaning, there's a purpose to these struggles.
Powerful thought. Even our messiest thoughts might have wisdom hidden inside.
That's what makes this so engaging. It's not just one person's story. It's
a universal thing, right? We all want to understand ourselves, our emotions.
This reminds us that self-discovery isn't always straightforward.
Totally. Full of twists and turns, contradictions.
But amidst that chaos, there's still beauty, a search for connection. Trying to reconcile, like, their public self with the one they experience on the inside.
And that's where things get kind of heavy. The speaker talks about intrusive thoughts even, like an autonomous language machine in their head.
Whoa, hold on. An autonomous language machine. That sounds like they're questioning their own free will, right? Like, are they even in control of their own thoughts?
It really makes you think, you know? What does it mean to be conscious, to be in charge of your own experience?
But even with all that internal struggle, they still talk about needing to be productive to make a way, even when they're unsure of what's driving them.
It's like this weird contradiction. Like they're wrestling with these existential questions, but also this urge to create, to like make something of themselves.
Do you think that's where OTLD fits in? Maybe by getting all those thoughts and feelings out, it helps clear a path.
It's a good point. If your mind's full of clutter, it's got to be hard to see clearly. But offloading that baggage, that might open up some space for new ideas.
Like tidying up your workspace to make room for something new. Maybe the speaker's doing that with their mind.
And in doing so, they're kind of giving us permission to do the same, right? To really look at our own inner worlds, those hidden parts of ourselves.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We started with offloading technical linguistic debt, and now we're talking about consciousness and meaning making.
And it all came from one person being brave enough to share their experience with us, to be vulnerable and let us into those messy, complicated parts of their mind.
It's a reminder we all have our own technical linguistic debt, those things we don't say that can weigh us down. But maybe by finding ways to offload it, like writing, talking, even recording ourselves, we can understand ourselves better.
And maybe even find that even in the chaos, there's beauty and connection. So next time you're wrestling with your own thoughts, remember this deep dive. Ask yourself, what do you need to offload? What can help you make sense of your own inner world?
It's a journey worth taking, even if it's messy and unpredictable. Because in those messy parts, we often find the most important truths about ourselves.